Hello anybody, and thanks for tuning into Monday Morning Handicapping. This is a Kentucky Derby Pick 4 sequence where I'm going to be taking a look at one of the races in the Pick 4 sequence that ends on the Kentucky Derby. And the race that I'm going to be taking a look at today is going to be race number 9, the first leg of the Pick 4 that ends in the Kentucky Derby, which will be race number 12 at Churchill Downs on the first Saturday in May. This is leg number 1, the American Turf Stakes. Just a quick agenda of this video before I get into it. We're going to do a brief summary and introduction of the race, brief overview of the data collected. I'll show you my spreadsheet, discuss relevant patterns as it pertains to surface conditions, race times and pace, winners in race position, odds and post position, jockey and trainer, most recent prep races, pedigree, sire and dam sire, and wrap it up with some takeaways and summary. So the American Turf Stakes, it's a grade 1 going a mile and a 16th on the turf for 3-year-old horses with $1 million purse. And I just want to make a note, this is early in their 3-year-old season. Many of these contenders may be lightly raced and have yet to establish their graded stakes potential. So if they're stepping up in class, just be wary that some of these horses are still developing and can progress early in their 3-year-old seasons. The record time for this race was 1 minute and 40.93 seconds by a horse named Royal Strand in 1997. The record margin of victory was 4.5 lengths by a horse named Band in 2011. The most wins by current jockeys, Mike Smith, Flavian Pratt, and Javier Castellano, all with 3 wins. Most wins by trainer, Chad Brown with 4. And this is the first race that begins the Pick 4 sequence, ending in the Kentucky Derby. Again, that sequence is races 9 through 12. The American Turf will be race number 9. And now I'm just going to show everyone my spreadsheet just so you have a little glimpse of the information that I collected, and I will attach the file in the description below if you want to take a look for yourself. So here's my spreadsheet. I've looked at the last 12 years, basically just because that's when I really started getting into horse racing. So I have the year of the races over here, the track conditions in this column, the time of the first quarter mile of the race run right here. This column here, LB, signifies lengths back, the eventual winner. How many lengths back was the eventual winner at the quarter mile? So you can see last year the eventual winner was 1 length back after a quarter mile. The split here refers to the quarter mile time between the preceding quarter mile. So in this case, it would be the first quarter mile to the half mile, the next quarter mile. How fast was this quarter mile run? This rate here indicates how much faster or slower this quarter mile was compared to the last one. So the first quarter mile was running 23.57. The next quarter mile to the half mile mark was 24.19. A positive number indicates slowing down. So this next quarter mile slowed down by 0.62 seconds. And then we move on to the half mile. Same thing here. How many lengths back was the eventual winner? How fast was the next quarter mile from this half mile? And the rate, so you can see they actually slowed down by 0.02 seconds going to the 3/4 mile. And down here, you'll see a negative number indicating that they actually sped up in between these quarter miles. I did that throughout the entire race. The split here, I had to multiply by 4 to get to this rate. So obviously they would have slowed down a little bit more had they kept going. So just take this with a little bit of a grain of salt that all I did was take this split from the mile to the mile and a 16th, multiplied by 4 to get the rate here. I have the average rate throughout the entire race here. Wire to wire winners, odds, name, post position, etc. More race information here, which we'll be getting into in the rest of the video. And down below, I averaged out the times and all this information for a yielding turf course, a good turf course, and a firm turf course. These averages above reflect all the averages from all 12 years, not just for each averaged out section down here. So you can compare how fast were the races run on firm ground compared to the average fractions or times of the race on all the ground. So just take note that this average on this row is the same as the average on this row. But now let's get back to the slides. So starting off with turf condition, a yielding turf course, which is the softest the grass will get, 1 of the last 12, which equates to 8%. A good turf condition, 4 of the last 12, 33%. And firm, it was a firm course, 7 of the last 12 runnings for 58% of the time. Should be able to anticipate a relatively firm course at this time of year. If listed as good, perhaps it's closer to firm than yielding, but of course check the weather and make adjustments as needed. So race times and pace. We have a slow rate of 0.22 on average with 0 wire-to-wire winners in the past 12 runnings. So again, up here, the slow rate. This is the average for all of the runnings, not just the averaged out for these turf conditions, but for all 12 runnings. They averaged a slowdown rate of 0.22 seconds per quarter mile throughout each running of this race. Firm conditions provide the fastest times and most even tempo races. The slowdown average, the races on a firm course were 0.13 seconds. You can see that right here for the firm course. This indicates to me that runners on a firm course are more or less in a near full sprint for most of the race. They're able to maintain that speed on a firm course. Consider horses that have shown good speed and an ability to maintain their speed at this distance on a firm turf course. Good conditions provide the slowest running of the first half mile, but have the fastest preceding half mile times of any condition, 0.22 and negative 0.52 seconds. So as you can see, for the overall times, the first quarter mile on the good course was slower than the yielding and firm. To the half mile, same, slower than the yielding in the firm. But if you look at the slowdown rate for the next 2 quarter miles, 0.22, which is lower than the firm and the yielding, and then a negative 0.52, faster than the yielding and the firm course here. This indicates to me that runners on a good course try to pace themselves early, but then make a mad dash for the finish line after a half mile into the race. Consider horses that have shown decent speed early, but with a very strong late kick in order to keep up with the pack as they increase their speed in the later parts of the race. Yielding conditions provide the greatest slow rate throughout the entire race, but is significantly reduced in the final 16th when those that preserve their energy earlier are making their runs. This indicates to me that yielding condition really takes a toll on a horse's stamina. Look for horses with experience on a yielding course with good results. If there are none, look for any sign of exceptional stamina. Lengths back. On average, the winner for the past 12 runnings of this race were within 2 to 7 lengths behind the leader after going 3/4 of a mile before making their moves, a fairly wide chasm. So if you go back and look at all the averages after 3/4 of a mile, the eventual winner will be anywhere between 2 and 7 lengths after 3/4 of a mile. The average at this point was 3.73 lengths back, but it's been as close as 2 lengths and as far as 7 lengths. Firm conditions provide the middle in terms of the number of lengths back, 4.14 lengths back. The eventual winner was after 3/4 of a mile compared to a good or a yielding course. So after 3/4 of a mile of the race, you can see on average on a firm course right here, the eventual winner was 4.14 lengths back. More lengths back than on good, but less than on that one yielding run. On a firm course, consider horses that have shown they can sit within 7 lengths of the average pace for a firm course early and make up ground late. Good conditions provide circumstances in which horses closer up have seen success, as they were 2.19 lengths behind the leader on average after 3/4 of a mile. So if we go up to the good conditions, after 3/4 of a mile, 2.19 lengths back on average. On a good course, consider horses that have shown they can sit within 3 to 4 lengths of the leader early and run on well for the final 5/16 of a mile. There tends to be a bit slower pace early on a good course, but faster closing fractions, so you'll want your horse in contention before it's too late. Yielding, with only one example in the last 12 starts, this winner was tied for the furthest back after 3/4 of a mile. He was 7 lengths back. Consider horses that have shown success on a yielding course and or which have shown great stamina, as the softer ground should be more taxing on a horse's stamina, particularly those leaders in the race on a yielding turf course. Now looking at odds and post position. Over the past 12 runnings of this race, the average odds for the winner is 12.8 to 1 with a range between 2 to 1 and 47 to 1, so another wide chasm. There have been 4 double-digit odds horses that have won this race in the past 12 runnings, which equates to 33%. Given their young age, there seems to be high variations in this race, so perhaps considering some longer shots on your ticket is warranted. The average starting post position for the winner is post position number 7, and 2 of the last 12 winners have won from that post position. I don't see any biases in terms of post position. The biggest takeaway that sticks out to me is that favorites don't dominate this race and that lots of lower to mid-price horses are winning this race. Overall, odds-wise, this race feels like it invites some chaos due to the distance, surface, and relatively young horses. Jockey and trainer Chad Brown has won this race 3 out of the last 12 runnings for 25%. Trainer Mike Maker is the only other trainer with more than 1 win in the past 12 runnings of this race, once being the COVID year, which was run in September, that's highlighted in pink here. Jockey Flavian Pratt has won this race 3 times in the last 5 years for 3 different trainers, so consider any horse he rides for any trainer. Irad Ortiz is the only other jockey to win this race more than once in the last 12 runnings. Both wins were on Chad Brown trained horses. Take a closer look at horses ridden by Flavian Pratt and Irad Ortiz, especially when those horses are trained by Chad Brown. Since this race seems to invite some chaos, consider horses that seem to be improving as they are young, developing, and this race has been won by lots of mid-price horses with a few long shots thrown in as well. Most recent prep race. The Grade 3 Transylvania at Keeneland has been the most recent prep race for winners of the American Turf in 3 of the last 12 runnings, so 25%. The Columbia Stakes at Tampa Bay Downs has produced 2 winners in the last 12 runnings, both horses trained by Chad Brown, so see if he sends a horse to the American Turf coming out of the Columbia Stakes. 6 of the past 12 winners of the American Turf won their most recent prep race, so 50%. The longest shot winner of the American Turf in the last 12 runnings won their most recent prep race on a synthetic surface. 2 of the past 12 winners ran their most recent prep race on a synthetic surface at Turfway Park. Both of those were stakes races. 1 horse won the American Turf at 15-1, having just broke his maiden, and 1 other horse won the American Turf at 18-1 after not winning a non-stakes allowance race. 2 horses won their prep races wire to wire, but 0 horses have won the American Turf wire to wire in the past 12 runnings, so consider if that horse could win the American Turf wire to wire, or if the horse has shown an ability to pass other horses if need be. So you don't want a horse that can only win when they're loose on the lead, and if you see a horse like that, look back in his form and see if he has shown an ability to pass other horses. Sometimes horses have one running style and that's to go to the lead and not have to pass horses. Sometimes horses can do both, so just take a closer look if the horse you're looking at just won their most recent prep race wire to wire. The average distance or last race distance for the American Turf, which is 8.5 furlongs, the winner's most recent prep race on average is 8.4 furlongs with a range between 8 and 9 furlongs. So look for horses with recent experience routing. No horse in the last 12 runnings has won this race coming in from a sprint race. The average days since the winner's prep race leading into the American Turf is 37 days with a range between 24 and 56 days. With these being newly turned 3-year-old horses, it seems that recent races and success are key takeaways leading into the American Turf. Sire and Dam Sire. Kitten's Joy is the only sire to have multiple winners of the American Turf in the past 12 runnings. Lemon Drop Kid and Empire Maker are the only dam sires with 2 winners of the American Turf in the last 12 runnings. Look for Kitten's Joy, Lemon Drop Kid, or Empire Maker in either the sire or dam sire line of your contenders, as you can assume they are capable of producing horses that can handle the surface, class, and distance. Reference back to this page or the Excel spreadsheet, which I will provide in the description below for any commonalities within your contenders. So now takeaways and summary. Expect a firm or good to firm track, but always check the weather and how horses have performed on each potential surface ahead of time. Firm surfaces typically offer a quick but even tempo race where the winner is about 4 lengths back with 5/16 of a mile to go. Good surfaces typically offer a slow race early, then a charge from 3/4 to 1 mile and begin to taper off. On average, winners on this surface are much closer to the front. Yielding surfaces typically offer the slowest races as the surface takes a toll on the leaders, allowing the horse with the best conditioning to pass by those tiring rivals. Chad Brown has won this race 3 of the last 12 times. Pay attention to who he sends, especially coming out of the Columbia Stakes at Tampa Bay Downs. Flavien Prat has won this race 3 out of the last 5 years, so pay attention to who he rides. The Grade 3 Transylvania at Keeneland seems to be a solid prep race for winners in the American Turf. Look for horses who won this race or ran well in that race, but perhaps face some adversity from a trip standpoint. 6 of the last 12 winners of the American Turf won their most recent prep race. The longest shot in the last 12 years won their most recent prep race in a stakes race on the synthetic surface at Turfway Park. Since these are young and developing horses, consider horses that are taking a big step up in class and ask yourself if they are progressing to a point where the trainer is confident the horse will be able to handle the task at hand. Kitten's Joy, Lemon Drop Kid, and Empire Maker have been the sire or dam sire of 5 of the last 12 winners, 42%. This race seems to invite chaos with young horses, a wide range of lengths back the eventual winner was, and a wide range of betting odds for the winner, so analyze the form, but this could be a spread race to some extent. And that's it for my video on the American Turf. I hope there were some nuggets of information that's useful for you. Thanks to everybody for watching. Feedback is always appreciated. Let me know what you think of this race, of this video. Like, subscribe, and or share with friends. I always try to target a new audience to horse racing and try to explain things in a way that makes sense to them. So if I do explain things in a way that seems redundant or overly simplified, I'm trying to explain it in a way without so much nuance that new players don't understand it. So if you think I'm doing a good job or could do better, just let me know in the comments below. Appreciate the feedback if you did. If you are a newcomer or know someone who is a newcomer that wants to learn more about horse racing, I have a couple of playlists. One is titled How to Read a Racing Form. It's 10 videos, a couple minutes each, and I just break down each section of the racing form so that you can decipher it better and make an educated guess in any given horse race. I also have a playlist called Betting on Horse Racing, where I break down all the bets that a track typically offers, explain what they are and how much they're going to cost you based on your ticket structure, and a little bit of insight of how I might structure a ticket based on the odds of the horse I like in any given sequence. Coming up next, I've been doing book reports on a book called Expert Handicapping, written by Dave Litfin. I'll just break down a chapter, highlight the key points, and then share my thoughts on those key points. I've done chapters 1 and 2, but it is Derby season, so that's kind of been put on the back burner a little bit. I'll probably do another 2026 Kentucky Derby prospects video where I take a look at one of the upcoming Kentucky Derby contenders, break down his background, his races so far, and rank them based on the prospects that I've covered so far. I've got about 12 of those videos out now. If you're interested, you could go find them. I could always just handicap some upcoming races, but with Derby season, I'm probably going to get back to a prospects video. And I can always resort back to my pedigree playlist where I break down the sire and the offspring they're producing and where they're winning most often to try to get an angle on some of those first-time starters. But that's it for this video. That's a little glimpse of probably what's coming up next. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments below. I would really appreciate it. Also, if you would like and subscribe, just help spread the word. I hope I'm doing the game some justice and spreading the word and getting more people involved. But again, thanks for watching. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend, and I'll see you next time.